Welcome back, everybody, and first of all, sorry for the background of this video, because this time you have my model that will be the object of this video, and we are on table in my kitchen, and so you have a selection of Italian food, what we call delicatessen in the north, so Italian tuna, fish, some olive oil, some there is everything. Okay, I need to take this location because I don't have enough space to host this guy around, so I simply keep it off from the showcase, and I wanted to do a brief video presenting him and trying to explain, trying to move mostly him. This is a over 80 centimeters of diorama once completed, and this was the already quite famous OM 180T. Basically, it was a Fiat 180T tractor, Everything is in 1/24 scale, despite the AMT Caterpillar is scheduled like as a 1/25 scale, but it's the only type of Caterpillar you can have in this big scale. So this is an overall look of how this guy looks, and I'm a little ashamed, honestly, because you are really between my oil and the stuff that my wife used to cook, some very good quality tomatoes from the south of Italy, lemons, And so what to say about this model? This is the final combination of three models that I made now. So, in the beginning it was the Fiat 180, the tractor that is nowadays possible to produce also using our transformation kit, our conversion kit for the low roof. The 180 tractor was one of the earliest 6x2, the only motion wheels were the rear one. Tractor, used in Italy, so you have to use an early H cab that, of course, as usual, you can obtain taking the plastic part coming from the Italeri 119 or the Magirus Deutz. Consider that both the Italeri 190 and the Magirus Deutz have the wrong engine for this type of truck, because when I built up this model, and you can also see in the library of my videos when I presented him, I changed the motor because this truck used a 6-cylinder straight 6 inline motors, with the separated gearbox, and didn't use the V8 provided inside the Italeri box, or even worse, the 10-cylinder air-cooled from the Magirus Deutz. So you have to make this type of modify if you want to produce, to build up this type of early tractors. So, they had like many tractors from the 60s and the 70s, they had the engine unit separated from the gear shaft, so there was a double transmissions, coming from the engine and going to the main traction axle, and there was also the second steering axle. This was still a vehicle with the driving side on the right, they still didn't have honestly the Fiat 180 as well as his identical brother, the 691. They both can have the driving on both the sides, so you can find both the model with the left or right hand drive. Instead, in this one I wanted to build it up like a right hand drive, so it's one of the very early versions, and the second part of the model was, honestly, the second part was the Caterpillar. I made plenty of videos about him, and it was very, very fun build. I slightly modified the engine, adding little tags and some detail extra, the fuel tanks, and mostly the biggest modification ever is about the track links. The track links are in metal, and they are not at all the one that you can find in the ordinary AMT Caterpillar D8H model kit, this because the model, and once again, is the only model that you can have in 1/24 or 25 scale suitable for this, because all the other models are mostly in a smaller scale. There is something in 1/35. Also, I'm producing some models in 1/35 about ordinary farmer tractors, building tractors, Caterpillar and Bulldozer, and you don't have something in this big scale, so you have just to use this model. So it's extremely hard, because or you make it by your own in 3D, or I make little bit tricky. There was a couple of guys that wanted them because the realism became incredibly increased using a real metal track link, you know, like this one is, but it's a little bit tricky and quite expensive to build them up. You know, they are very, very big ones. Consider that each track link is at least 2 centimeter long and 1 centimeter high, so it's a little bit complicated to produce, and they are over than 200 separate track links, you know. The caterpillar is of course fixed by an external kind of game of chains, you know, around the tracks and so on, but the real stuff that fixes the caterpillar over the model is that wooden bar. I made it in real wood, pressed with metal pins, and you place wood pinned, you know, inside. Also there is some inside the inner part of the tracks, you know. It was the method that during my military service we used to fix the main battle tanks over the trains, you know. So when they were going to Yugoslavia and so on for missions and so on, my group, my corps in the military service used to fix this battle tank over the train using this kind of method, you know. And also at the time we had the chains anyway to try to fix something extra, but it was not the stuff holding the caterpillar over the hull, you know. So, and in the end I also placed some minor detail. This is everything that is I studied a little to be high catching, you know. So there is a little pallet with over three pallets. Pallets are completely scratch built. Nearly everything here is made by myself, you know. Indeed, the trailer, you know, the hull is made using the low boy from AMT, which I had the rear ramps, you know, that are not provided in the original vehicle. So you had to create this type of modification to make it believable, you know, because probably in the first hull, I think it was still one of the vehicle that they used to take away the wheels and so on to keep it a little even lower, you know. Otherwise the caterpillar had to jump this step that is quite high, and I think it will be devastating for the trailer. So I didn't know how the real low boy worked, but I never see any, at least in the model, they didn't provide any extra ramps to climb over the model. So I scratch build them and fix it for the closed position with this chain also, and with other cable to make it not moving back and forward, you know. The more I add this wood plate over here, they are not structural stuff, it's just to cover the wheels, because in the beginning the low boy had these big steps here that were meant to let the stuff walk over without damaging the wheels, and I just covered it up just to make it something in a modeling, from a modeling point of view, you know. And some minor detail added, a lot of weathering, because this was meant to be all items, I mean the tractor and the caterpillar, coming from the Marshall Plan. That was the plan made by Americans after the Second World War and keeping on until the 60s and the 70s, using used American staff, both civilian and military staff. So the idea was that one, instead the tractor can be quite okay for the period, so this could be a model that you can find the location around the 70s to have an idea, you know. And the definition, carico eccezionale, trasporto eccezionale, it was the ultra heavy loader, you know. And there is different text in different size all over. I made them in metal with scratch build decal, and that's it. There is a lot of detail that I really would like, you know. I was also talking with some guys organizing contests and so on. I really would like to bring this boy around and show the complete and finished item, you know, because in the competition they seen the head, the tractor, they seen the caterpillar, they give every time gold prizes to this stuff, but they never see the complete work. So I think it can be worth it maybe to take the risk and try to move this stuff a little, you know, despite it's extremely heavy. I think that everything here is at least 3 to 5 kilos, you know. It's very, very heavy. It's the caterpillar that is incredibly heavy. Let me see if I can turn in the other side to show you the other side of this model. I place some little it's really complicated, guys, to move this stuff. Really complicated, you know. And that's it. And it's, I think the overall look is anyway eye-catching, you know. It's despite the oil in the background, the oil, the flowers, vabbè. The tractor you already seen. The tractor was full of detail. There is Marlboro cigarettes over the dashboard, and I made this version not using the ordinary Fiat 180, but the limited production that they had in OM Brescia. OM was Officine Meccaniche. It was a subsidiary company working together with Fiat Veicoli Commerciali and producing a multitude of different type of trucks, and this production that was basically identical to a Fiat, they just changed something in the colors of the interior parts, and the front end was slightly different, instead of having the ordinary covering for the radiator made in the Fiat way, this was a different logo that they had for this, Also this part, not the OM, the OM is coming from another company making 3D details, but the bumper and the roof and the different steps here, as well as the rear air filter stuff that you can find in my conversion about the low roof. The low roof have a positive plus that this was the very, very first edition without any reinforcement over the roof, instead the conversion I made to make it a little bit different from this one. I made with the 3 reinforce in the back side of the roof of this cab, The wheels are still my first edition, so the big tire 12.00 using the Continental tire, so it was that type of pattern that you can see there. And I hope also that the position of the trailer let anyway all the details that I had for the chassis of this truck. This was quite complicated, to make a 6x2. There was absolutely nothing like details and stuff already done for this, so you had to study carefully the design before to understand the wheelbases, the different wheelbases between the axles, and then try to add all the detail that you can do. It's not so easy. There is so many different configurations for these trucks that is absolutely not so easy. But I think that the effort is worth it. The final result, and the model is absolutely eye-catching. It's something extremely heavy, give the idea of heaviness, of weathering. So I think is absolutely nice to see. He's a nice guy, despite the lemon down there. So that's it, guys. I just wanted to show you the final result because very, very soon this guy returned in the special showcase that I made especially for him and the 697 truck. And I have no other possibilities to show you this stuff because look, the dimension they take exactly. The table is 1 meter here, so to have an idea, there is 10 centimeter left, so they think this is 80 centimeter completely. I didn't take the final measure of it, but that's it. And I think is one of the best and most impressive model that I have ever built. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.